Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So I was having a conversation with a brother in the faith about traditions of man. And I was more so specifically talking about traditions within families, how there are family traditions that they pass down from generation to generation, not talking about like holidays or anything like that, but just different things that people do in their family, right? And it made me think of the story in Jeremiah about the Rechabites. Okay. And if y'all don't know about the Rechabites, I highly recommend that you read Jeremiah 35. That's one of my, I don't want to say it's one of my favorite stories, but it is a story that kind of just stuck with me because it really shows how when Yahuwah says honor your mother and father, it really shows an example of honor your mother and father. Okay. So we're going to read it and then we're going to talk about it. This is the word that came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah in the days of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah. Go to the house of the Rechabites, speak to them, and bring them to one of the chambers of the temple of Yahuwah to offer them a drink of wine. Now, this is to foreshadow, right? This first part, it is to be used as an example. He's trying to prove a point to the Israelites. We're going to get into what I mean by that, but Yahuwah knows they're not going to drink the wine. He knows that. So I took Jaazaniah, son of Jeremiah, son of Habizaniah, and his brothers and all his sons, the entire house of the Rechabites, and I brought them into the temple of Yahuwah to a chamber occupied by the sons of Hanan, son of Igdaliah, a man of Elohim, who had a chamber near the officials' chamber, which is above the chamber of Maaseiah, son of Shalom, the doorkeepers. I set jars filled with wine and some cups before the sons of the house of the Rechabites and said to them, drink wine. But they replied, we do not drink wine. For Jonadab, son of our ancestors, Rechab, commanded, you and your descendants must never drink wine. You must not build a house or sow seed or plant a vineyard. Those things are not for you. Rather, you must live in tents your whole life, so you may live a long time on the soil where you stay as a resident alien. Right? So something to know about resident aliens. Yes, they could live among the tribes, but they did not have land. So there was no land that belonged to them. So I'm assuming they didn't build like houses or permanent residences. So they stayed in tents. They lived in tents amongst the people. So he was like, don't drink wine, don't take up permanent residence because you are not a resident of the land. You're an alien, okay, who resides there, but you're not of the bloodline. So, no, you cannot establish like a permanent residence, right? Which, if you think about today, this is not our land, okay, where we live. We are resident aliens amongst the nations. Let me continue. We have obeyed Jonadab, son of our ancestor Rechab, in all he commanded us. So we haven't drunk wine our whole life. We, our wives, our sons, and our daughters. We also have not built houses to live in and do not have vineyard, field, or seed. But we have lived in tents and have obeyed and done everything our ancestor Jonadab commanded us. However, when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon marched into the land, we said, come, let's go into Jerusalem to get away from the Chaldean and Aramean armies. So we have been living in Jerusalem. Now, something to know about the Rechabites. They're descendants of Jonadab ben Rechab, which means Jonadab, son of Rechab, who supported Jehu when he overthrew the house of Ahab. And you can find that in 2 Kings chapter 10. So around 599 BC, the Rechabites took refuge from Nebuchadnezzar in Jerusalem. Okay, so that's that. Then the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah. This is what Yahuwah of armies, the Elohim of Israel, says. Go say to the men of Judah and the residents of Jerusalem, will you not accept discipline by listening to my words? This is Yahuwah's declaration. The words of Jonadab, son of Rechab, have been carried out. He commanded his descendants not to drink wine, and they have not drunk to this day because they have obeyed their ancestors' command. They listened to their father. They honored their father, and they did what he said. And he gave them that, I'm not even going to call it advice, but he gave them that command for a specific reason. He was like, hey, y'all are resident aliens, act like it. Don't be in this land that is not yours, acting a plumb fool, doing all types of foolery. Don't do that, because that's what wine will do to you. If you drink enough of it, have you acting out of character? But I have spoken to you time and time again, and you have not obeyed me. Time and time again, I have sent you all my servants, the prophets, proclaiming, turn each one from his evil way and correct your actions. Stop following other Elohim to serve them. Live in the land that I gave you and your ancestors, but you did not pay attention or obey me. Yes, the sons of Jonadab, son of Rechab, carried out their ancestors' command he gave them, but these people have not obeyed me. So he's like, these aren't even my people. They're resident aliens that live amongst y'all, and they listen to their father, and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing in this land. But I gave y'all commands to do in this land, and you're not doing them. Therefore, this is what Yahuwah, the Elohim of armies, the Elohim of Israel, says: I will certainly bring on Judah and all the residents of Jerusalem all the disaster I have pronounced against them, because I have spoken to them. But they have not obeyed me, and I have called to them, but they did not answer. But to the house of the Rechabites, Jeremiah said, this is what Yahuwah of armies, the Elohim of Israel, says: because you have obeyed the command of your ancestor Jonadab, and have kept all his commands, and have done everything he commanded you, this is what Yahuwah of armies, the Elohim of Israel, says: Jonadab, son of Rechab, will never fail to have a man to stand before me always. Now, if you go back to Exodus and look at the Ten Commandments, it says to honor your father and your mother so that you will have long life in the soil that Yahuwah has given you. This is a prime example of that. Okay? A prime example that they're going to have long life because they follow the command of their father. Granted, this is not their land, but this is the land that they reside, right? So even though this is not our land, this is where we reside. If we follow the commands of Yahuwah in this land, we will have long life. If we follow and honor our mother and father, as long as they're not going against the commands of the Most High, then we will have long life. But it makes me think of the traditions that we follow of our families or whatever, even traditions of the land. You can follow those traditions to a T, but when it comes to what the Most High says, we have a problem with it, right? There is a song, I can't remember the name of the song, but in the song, the guy said, you follow, you when we come to a red light, you stop and follow the laws of the land. But when it comes to the laws of Yahuwah, it's a burden. It's hard for you to do the paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but that was what he was saying. Like, you follow these laws, you follow these traditions of man, you have no problem doing that, doing it down to a T. But when it comes to the laws of Yahuwah, we act like it's burdensome, like it's hard. His laws are not hard. They're actually fairly easy to follow. But we live amongst people who do not follow them. And a lot of times our flesh, because we feed our flesh, that takes over the spirit. The spirit wants to follow the commands of Yahuwah, because where did the spirit come from? Yahuwah. So that's just something I just wanted to talk about. Like, the Rechabites example is something that I'm not going to say that I followed intentionally, but it's something that I do follow. I do not drink. I stopped drinking years ago, and I live in an apartment. It's not a tent, but it's not a permanent residence. It's not a house that I own or anything like that. I live in an apartment, and the thing is, I've come to the realization, or not even the realization, but I've come to accept and realize that I actually prefer renting than buying a home and having land. That's something I used to want to have. But given the way the economy is looking, y'all, I'm not trying to buy a house. I'd rather just live in an apartment or rent a house for the rest of the time that I'm here on this earth. I have no problem renting. I don't. Because if something needs to be fixed, call maintenance. I don't have to pay to get it fixed because it's already coming out of my rent. That's what you get paid for. Come and fix whatever is broken. I don't have to worry about that, you know? But I look at it as I am not a permanent resident here. None of us are, right? And so with the whole not drinking wine, well, one, they don't have vineyards, and two, whenever we get a little alcohol in us, we do things we shouldn't be doing, and we do things that we wouldn't typically do if we weren't under the influence. So be sober minded. That is something that, is talked about quite often. Be sober minded. Be in your right mind and repent. Like Yahuwah said, he said down here in verse 15, time and time again, I have sent you all my servants, the prophets, proclaiming, turn each one from his evil way and correct your actions. Stop following other Elohim to serve them. Live in the land that I gave you and your ancestors. We're supposed to now live in the land where we were scattered and do what he said. Because if you think about going back when he was talking to Zedekiah, so it's in Jeremiah chapter 27 where he told Zedekiah, hey, go to Babylon, right? Be under the yoke of Nebuchadnezzar. Do what you're supposed to do. This is what Yahuwah has said that you're supposed to do. What did Zedekiah do? He ran. He was captured anyway. His eyes were taken out. His sons were unalived in front of him. Didn't listen. We're scattered, living in a different land of another nation. We're supposed to still follow the commands and laws of Yahuwah, as well as follow the laws of the land. That's what he told them to do. So when it comes to traditions, why is it so easy for us to follow the traditions of the land? Which, if you go back in Deuteronomy, when Yahuwah told them, do not follow the traditions of the land when you come into the land of the people that they were living there. Okay? If he says to do that, why is it so hard for us to listen? Why is it so hard? That's all I have for y'all.